welcome to a new Harry's Garage video, and today's car is one of my favourite of all time, the Porsche 993 GT. Now, I say GT, you're probably all saying GT2. It wasn't actually christened when this car was launched, a GT2. That is a name it then gained over the years, a bit like the Ferrari 365 GTB4 becoming known as the Ferrari Daytona. This car also got known as the GT2 because that's the class it was homologated for to go racing. Super lightweight, turbocharged two-wheel drive, so developed from the 993 Turbo, but my goodness, very special. They really went to town at Porsche to turn it into this homologation special. Lightweight, 1290 kilos, so 200 kilos lighter than their Turbo 4, 430 horsepower, and just got a real wild reputation. It was expensive when new as well, £134,000 when a Turbo was just under £100,000. And it was made by the motorsport division in very small numbers. It wasn't really a production car. You had to order it, was special order only, and then got built at the motorsport division at Weissach rather than on the production line. So all in all, really special, super rare. I've been looking at numbers. It's hard to actually get a definitive number, but we believe there are 7 right-hand drive cars, and this is one example of those 7. Overall, including the race car, about 193 cars built. A very special car. Special to me as well because this is the 3rd issue of Evo magazine, and in it we did one of my favourite tests, and that was Justin Bale brought his Viper, you see there, that he had got for racing Viper Le Mans GTS R. I'd never seen one before. It turned out to be a really good car, and also a Porsche 993 GT2. And we took them out to Le Mans and had a whale of a time, drove it on circuit and had the most extraordinary drive back to the UK. And then, of course, I had that red GT2 that wasn't a GT2 a few years ago that I got as close as I could to a GT2 with that car. So lots of details. Let's go and have a closer look at this special car. Now on the 911 GT, the first thing that was different was this front splitter design with this sort of lovely little detail here, taking the aero round the wheel, and then the most obvious change were these plastic bolt-on arches. A lot of people say they're riveted. They're not actually riveted. They're a little tiny Allen key and a 8mm nut the other side, and you have to be brutal with your 911 the Turbo, because you basically take a hacksaw and cut out the arch like this on a standard Turbo, and then you bolt those on. I saw it on my car, and it must be quite a thing to take the hacksaw to your brand new Turbo 4. Well, Porsche do it. So that, and also the other difference of obviously these Speedline wheels, 8x18. You can tell this is magnesium center alloy outside. It says Speedline by Porsche on there. But you can tell a magnesium wheel because the spokes are solid. So if you just put your runny finger across there, then if they're solid, they're magnesium. If they dent in, they're just normal alloy. The turbo brakes, the red caliper as well. And also if you peer in there, there is no stone chip protection on this car. I ought to also mention part of the Lightning aluminium bonnet on this car as well. And when we come around the side, also aluminium doors on this car. Thinner glass as well on here. And on the back screen, even fatter at the rear, 11x18 wheels at the rear as well, and again it's bolt-on extension at the back. Rear screen's interesting, that gives quite a lot away. You'll see no heater elements at all, and a normal 911 would have a hole in the glass there for the wiper, and at the back of the screen here you normally have the speakers for the radio, etc., and rear seats, which are absent in this car. Then the engine, well, there's a 911 script on there, and it is probably the worst looking engine we've ever seen. Porsche engines never display well, but they don't get much worse than this. This is the big intercooler that sits on top of it, and then air intake for the engine here and here. It also has air conditioning, so that's all you see really, and a big fan, because obviously it's air cooled, being the 993. And there's no way you can't mention this extraordinary rear wing. There is adjustments on the rear wing. On here, you take the end plate off here, and then underneath you can just alter the angle of the wing there. They take a protection out of this grille as well, so you get more airflow into your intercooler, etc., but no protection for the intercooler if you're looking at Turbo 4 compared to a GT2. But my goodness, you just look at the overall stance of it, and I just think it's magnificent. This bolt-on arch look, I don't think it's ever done better. The funny thing is that because they're plastic, they're slightly random and it's sort of gappy, and that's, to me, adds to its appeal. It looks like a homologation special, exactly what it is. And then we'll just have a look at the front. There it is. Yeah, no strut to hold it up. A little pin here fits in there. Front strut was standard on the 911 GT, and then no carpet. Just a little bit of carpet down here. This is for your battery cutout. If you have the Club Sport version, you get a battery cutout on that. And then these special top struts that actually have an adjustment. They've got a slot there, so if you move the bolts around, I'm pretty sure that's an adjustment for the top strut, so you can add negative camber, etc. It's all part of the homologation deal. You had to fit these parts to your production car to be able to go racing at Le Mans in the standard production GT2 class, as it were. So anyway, I'll close this up and then we'll take it for a drive. First thing you notice on the GT2, the lightweight door. It's remarkable what a difference that feels when you open it, and it just doesn't have the weight of a normal 993. You also have to give it a bit more of a slam. You still get that distinctive sound. But yeah, it's so well sealed, so beautifully built, this car, that just takes an extra slam to close it. Door card just the same as on mine, so no sort of armrest or pocket in the door. If you want to lock it, we use this funny round thing here. And then you're presented with a fixed wheel and an airbag, just a standard 993 steering wheel there, and the same columns. It all looks remarkably similar. I don't think there's anything that says GT2 or GT in here at all. It's just beautifully made. I have a different gear knob here, just a shorter throw one on the GT2 sports gear change. This particular car has silver dials, but that was just an option when they were new. You could have black, silver, whatever colour you wanted if you're paying them to produce this car. And then everything is stripped out. You can't adjust the intermittent wipe on it. There's no little knob here. No, that's not there. You can't adjust the backlit nature of the dials. No, there's nothing for that. There's no mirror adjustment on the top of the door. You normally find a 993. No, if you want to adjust the mirror, you have to poke it with a finger. Just utterly conventional. Here there's a check here, so you can check the warning lights and that sort of thing. Just utterly stripped of anything in here that I can see. Oddly, well padded seats, like the turbo sort of hardback seats, cup seats you can get on other 993s as well. So that's all normal. There is a little bit more engine sound even now. You have to be a bit of a 993 nerd to notice. But there is some sound deadening missing without those back seats, if you can call them that, and that speaker and that panel and a big wad of sound deadening at the back. You do notice just a little bit more of air-cooled 911-ness from it. Anyway, what I'm going to do now, head out, find some of my favourite roads where you'll be joining me later on. First thing that strikes you about this car is how compact it is. Just when you get in the cabin, the glass is so close to you, you sort of forget how upright the screen is on this age of 911. You've got to remember that windscreen is the same as the windscreen when the 911 was first launched. And I can reach over and touch the side glass of the door, no problem at all. So it's very compact in here. And you're close to the glass, side glass, etc. And then with a no adjustment wheel, you're sort of closer to the front as well. You can't extend rally style the wheel right out. And then just the lack of buttons. There are buttons, and you need to know what they do, but they're generally, I mean, there's lights here and there's fog lights and stuff there. This car has got the optional cassette, radio cassette, so I can see there's an area in the windscreen. And the other thing, yeah, just short geared. I'm into second and a lively throttle, just off throttle. You've got to remember it's a 3.6 litre engine that's turbocharged, and you know the regular Carrera 2 went pretty well, and this thing is just a bit lighter than one of those. So yeah, it feels very lively without lighting the turbos up. Noisy though. I did record it on my little stretch of road just to check and noise reading, and we're up around we're over 80, I think 82 decibels I think it was, at 60 miles an hour just on a regular road. So yeah, pretty noisy. Really clear instruments you get on this age, and I don't know what you still do now, that central rev counter, loud and proud. And I can barely see out, I can barely see anybody out the front windscreen. It's just panoramic view of the road ahead. Right, I'm going to do my usual thing of squirting it out of this on this little bit of road. I'd use third. I think actually I'll use second. So here we are, 30 miles an hour. Quick gear shift. Let's see what we do. 3,000 RPM. Here we go. Oh, we like the turbo. Oh my goodness me. Yes. I mean, quick. Once those turbos light up, oh, it's an explosion just around the 4,000 RPM mark, and then it really gets going, and then it just keeps linear until you hit the rev limit at I think it's about 6.8 or something, but it's all done by just over 6. I think max power's at 5,750, 430 horsepower, remember, and the peak torque is just on 4,000 RPM. So that's where the action is. And now I'm in, if I put it into fourth, 2,000 RPM, flat out. And there's a bit of a pause, just feel it build at 3, and 4.5, whoa! And then it really takes off. I mean, I don't know, it's highly addictive. We can criticise the turbo lag today because we've got all sorts of variable vane technology and lots of electronics, but boy did it make cars like this exciting when we first drove this sort of turbocharged cars. And it's really quite a short throw on the gear change as well with this GT2 sports geared shift. Revs, flares, dead easy to heel and toe. Just feels alive is your first feel as you get into this car. Cars everywhere, holiday season out of here. Yeah, a lot of fun. A lot of fun. And it's very, very analogue. It's all down to you. Yeah, this lumpy bit of road. Don't know if the camera's wiggling, if you can tell, but yeah, it's feeling the bumps. But I'm also feeling it through the steering. Lots of activity in the steering wheel. There's no sort of numb electric steering in this car. Oh no, this is a very talkative car. This is a Graham Norton sort of car, not the silent type at all. Ever-present 911 air-cooled sound is with you. Doesn't matter what the revs, you don't have to build the revs to get that sensation. Just that busy sound, very mechanical. So filtered out of today's car, but so present in this age of car. It does feel sharp on the steering. I think, yeah, it's tightened up bushes on the GT2, and also it's got adjustable anti-roll bars on this. So you've got individual, I think you've got 5 holes you can choose from in the front anti-roll bar and 3 on the rear. I noticed it's on its hardest bar at the back. I didn't check the front actually, but yeah, just sharp feeling.
doesn't move out at speed. There we are. Oh, yeah, a very hard stop there. Just swing it into here. Into third. Quite a notchy gear change actually. Oh, we're in the boost now. Let's try this. Oh, I just feel it move at the back there. Hit that apex and power out. My goodness. Yeah, it's busy in here. It's very busy controlling this car. Absolute concentration. It's not a car. I don't know why you fitted a radio cassette in here, but it's not that sort of car at all. But boy, is it exciting. It's probably worth just thinking some of the likes and dislikes with this car. Well, I suppose a dislike, a bit of an odd one. I wish it wasn't so rare. It's such a 911 turned up to 11, to use the old cliche. Well, 911 turbo turned up to 11. I mean, if you stepped out of a GT3, you're in for a bit of a shock, but it is a rare experience. It feels way more on its toes than a regular turbo 993. The difference is massive, actually. That 200 kilo lost, and just freeing up that front axle from power duties and just leaving it to steering and grip round corners has really made the front end much more talkative. So there's just a clarity from left to right with the steering, and I'm sure again it's that loss of weight and that lack of powered front axle. Another, I suppose, slight dislike was the it does feel quite old now. Again, it'd be a bit of a shock if we just got out of a current GT3. Let's take it round here. This is the tighter bend here. Trail throttle in there. So easy to heel and toe. On the power, there's power out, and off we go. Oh, beautiful, lovely ratios. I was straight into the power there as I came from second to third. Beautifully chosen ratios, but you wouldn't expect anything else from Porsche, really. Notchy gear change though, and it's quite a heavy clutch, so it's not nice to use. But when it's quite a precision though, when you are using it and you're on it, it doesn't seem to miss. Then it's just if you're feeling slightly lazy, you sometimes miss a gear with it. Anyway, moving on to the lights. Well, again, that rarity adds something to it, doesn't it? You know you're driving something very special. And artisans of Isaac have hand-built this car. This feels super fresh. It's only done, well, it hasn't even done 3,000 miles, this example. So it feels brand new to me from behind the wheel. And it feels a very special event. And it also feels incredible quality. Everywhere you look, it feels tight. There's no rattles, and it's tight the way you can't close the doors, you know, cleanly. It just tells you the quality of the construction of this car. It's also impossible not to mention the looks of this car. That purposeful stance when you see it, those bolt-on arches just add to its appeal. They just scream Le Mans and homologation special. So yeah, in conclusion, well, it's just such an event to drive. It has the power to make it really exciting. It has the tools, it has this dynamism, it has this liveliness, this chatter, this all going on. You know, you're feeling the bumps, you're feeling it through the steering, through the space of the seat, and then you've got the turbos that you light up and wow! Oh, it's so nice to revisit. I mean, it does remind me of my GT2 that wasn't a GT2. I mean, I did enjoy that car, but I found it even more compromising. It was even stiffer sprung than this car. And then it did its gearbox in, and I didn't quite trust it mechanically, because perhaps it had been tuned too much. And I swapped it into the Project 8. And lots of people, what do you do that for? But the Project 8 has a stance and a usability, and it will just do track days all day, every day for the next 10 years without anything breaking. That had its appeal. And then you look at the lap times. I was quite shocked when I looked at this sort of Nürburgring times listed for this car. Oh, I just enjoy this. It's a quick car. It's in 3.9 to 60 or thereabouts, 8.4 to 100. But yet the Nürburgring lap time brings it back into focus. You realise that it's slightly compromising suspension and stuff, because its lap time around the Nürburgring was 8:07. And you think the Project 8, 7:18. Oh, it's like 50 seconds quicker. But which one do you enjoy more? Well, this deserves its iconic status. It just feels alive for a turbocharged Porsche, and this sort of GT nature, this motorsport feel, and what it stands for those heady days of where you could buy the cars that are actually lined up on the grid at Le Mans. Just a wonderful time, and I just think they should be celebrated. Along with, it reminds me most of like the F40, that it probably doesn't do a great Nürburgring time today, the F40, but my goodness, every single drive you remember, and that's the same with this car. Every time you light the turbos, you remember it. The 993 GT2. So there you go. Hope that gives you an idea what this car's like. If you have enjoyed this video, well, please keep subscribing. I'm very grateful for those that do. And then there will be some more videos coming along very soon. Thanks for watching.